Now, another famous guy that you'll probably recognize is Einstein. He's the guy who said, you know, what goes up must come down. But he also said that everything is energy. This is energy. Right now, if we took a microscope, you would actually be able to see it moving, even though we know it's hard. How do we know that's true? As well as a discipline with trees. You know, they're very solid. You couldn't push them over, but give them a strong wind and they bend, right? And it's because the molecules can move. We are all like that too. And I think for him, you know, he's saying it's not a philosophy, it is physics. So if you have an intention and you are operating on that intention of bringing to you the great customers, the wealth that you want, you're going to operate under that vibration and you're going to send it out to the universe. That will come back to you. That's what he says is reality, and that it's physics. So that's another way to think about it. And I find with the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, the root of our challenge is that we are stymied, if you will, by what we call today self-limiting beliefs. Somewhere in our psyche, there's something telling us that we can't do this. And it's rooted in how we think about money. A simple explanation is that your brain is actually two separate parts. 90% of it is subconscious, 10% of it is conscious. So the conscious part is up here, the front lobal part. This is what you're using right now. You're thinking, you're analyzing. This is either resonating with you, it isn't resonating with you, she's taking too long, talk faster, whatever that's going on is in that front part of the mind. And I liken it to be like a computer. Like when you turn on that button, 90% of the computer whirs into action, gets it all working, all the parts moving. And then when it settles, you now have to choose which program you're going to work in. You know, is that Outlook or Internet or Word? That's the same type of thing. But in your subconscious mind, this is where all your old beliefs are. Your whole involuntary body functions, you're blinking and, you know, all your hair's growing, those things take place. But the things that you've learned growing up from your parents, your grandparents, other people, this is what's embedded in the subconscious. And uncovering what those self-limiting beliefs are and then letting them go or changing your mind or recalibrating your vibration around them is what's essential to break any barriers regarding abundance that you might have. Now, Harv T. Eker, who wrote The Millionaire Mind, he said, a lack of money is not the problem. It is merely a symptom of what's going on inside your mind. And what most stages and designers don't realize is that generating more income is more about, less about doing, but more about mindset. Shifting the way that you constantly think, feel, and behave around money. So all of us are filtering all the time. It's kind of a paradigm that's been built into you from your childhood through the beliefs of the people that you've interacted with and the experiences that you've had in your life. And as a result of that upbringing, you have formed subconscious beliefs about money. Now, that are self-limiting. If you've ever heard of the girl with the short blonde hair, what's her name? Susie Orman. In the 9 Steps to Wealth, the first thing she asks you to do is investigate within yourself. What is your first memory of money? Can you remember what it was? No? Would it be somebody in your family saying, money is to be saved for a rainy day? Money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's the one that my mother used to use all the time. When I grew up, the first thing I did, when I was thinking, well, what was my first money? I know that my mother said all of those things, but I can remember very distinctly being 15 and getting my first paycheck, being a Saturday girl working at Woolworths, and I got it at noon, and it was spent by 1. I bought myself a new sweater and a nice, you know, some undergarments. And so for me, money is a tool. It's a tool to get things. My husband, the Dutch accountant, he was brought up with money needs to be saved. There isn't enough of it. And what you have to keep. So you can see we're diametrically opposed when it comes to money philosophy in our house. But that's really one of the things. And I find that a lot of decorators and stagers are stuck at that $40,000 or $50,000 limit and don't know why, or less, and don't know why. And actually, there is a reason for it. One of the reasons is that it often represents an old salary that you had, or it represents what your friends make. You know, you think that's not a bad salary, or you just think it's a good number to kind of aim for, to get paid. But what it means to you is that in your logical mind, you are stuck at that number. Even though you want to move, your subconscious is very powerful and it believes what you tell it. That's all that's in there is what you have told it. It doesn't know the difference between what's correct or incorrect. It takes in what you tell it. So it believes everything is right, then it'll believe that that lower number is real. That's your threshold. Even if it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't serve your best interests to, for your financial targets, you're going to have a hard time breaking free of that income zone unless you dig it up, rip it out, and then replace it with a new belief. And one way to start doing that is to start acting your way to success. So you might think that it's a game of make-believe, dressing up to the level that you want to be at. Which car do you want to drive? Go take it for a test drive. Have your picture taken into it. This is visualization, just like that $100,000 that I showed you. But this is what people in sports do, to win an Olympic medal. They start visualizing themselves on that podium. These are things that you'll need to do to take yourself to that next level. And breaking down barriers, like breaking down an income barrier is like breaking down any barrier. My thing from my memory is when I was a child was Roger Bannister. How many of you have heard of Roger Bannister? He was the man who ran a 4-minute mile. Now, right now, it's not a great big deal, but back then, people thought that human beings couldn't run that fast. And on the day that he was running, they had ambulances and oxygen tents. The world press were there because they really thought he was going to die. But he did it. 3 minutes, 59 seconds. Within a month, 2 more people had done it. So it's like for you, other people have earned more than 100,000 or 250,000. Those barriers are already broken down for you. So if it's possible for them, it's possible to you. But sitting where you are right now, whatever that financial goal is, it could feel like as difficult as climbing a mountain. Let me introduce you to my sister Lynn, up there in the clouds of snow. I'm the eldest of 5, and she is number 3. And she got it in her mind that she wanted to climb Everest. Don't ask me why, I still don't understand it. But she invested a lot of money, and she trained for a whole year. She went on 40-mile hikes in the rain, in the dark, with pack sacks on. She did physio work, cardio work, all that kind of physical stuff that I don't get into too much. Ate the right food, bought all the right equipment, and flew to the Himalayas with a group of 9 people collectively. Surprisingly, only a few people had actually prepared to put the effort into believing that they could achieve that goal. They went on the trip, they bought the outfits, but when they got there, the physical aspect of climbing the mountain was beyond some of them. And by the time that they got to base camp, only 3 of them were going to move forward to summit. And in the end, only 2, my sister was one of them, only 2 did it. But think of all that effort and then not working on the mental part. And for Lynn, she said, if I had to go there on my hands and knees, I was making that final attempt. The air is very thin, you can't breathe. Your chest is bursting because you can't get enough oxygen into your brains. It's freezing cold. And you start the climb at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. But prior to that last climb, the day before, you have to go 9 hours trekking to kind of test it out, to see what the ice is like. then come back, have a brief break, and start again at 2. Now, they tell you that you start at 2 o'clock in the morning so that when you summit, you will be seeing the sunrise. The real reason is that you're not going to see all the bodies that are still in the snow. You see them on the way down, but you wouldn't go forward. So all those little hurdles, they find ways. So it's like these are the things, if you will, these are the shadows that are in your mind that are holding you back from achieving great things. And, and this is, for them, the exhilaration of getting up there. What the appeal is, beyond comprehension to me, but, if you could even share a little bit of our exhilaration of actually doing it, it's absolutely priceless. Thank you. It's absolutely priceless. That's what you're looking for, that exhilaration of breaking down barriers that you currently have and overcoming them and achieving great things. So the fourth part of that 20% is cultivating a prosperity consciousness. I have this conversation with my husband all the time. And he says, well, I am prosperity conscious. Absolutely. Bring it on. Bring that money in there. Absolutely. But if there's a day when there are a lot of bills, or maybe the phone doesn't ring at the business, he's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. That is the opposite of belief. You're now beginning to worry. That is not prosperity consciousness. It has to be operating all of the time. And Dr. Dyer says that you get what you speak about. Not just what you think about, but what you speak about. So when people ask you, how is your business doing? What do you say? It's doing great. No matter what, it's doing great. It's getting better and better every day. It's amazing what's happening in my business. Even if nothing's happening, it's amazing what's happening in my business. Find something that you can use, and then be careful with words. Words are very powerful. Kimberly, I forgot your name there, sorry. Kimberly, it's menopause, what can I tell you? Kimberly picked somebody up on it too, was like she was going to try to do something. And it was Yoda who said, there is no try, only do. Right? Makes you sound like you're not really going to get there. If is another word. If I can do it. No, when I do it. Might. I hope. And that one that we often hear, and we've heard it today, is discount. I'll give you a discount, 10% discount. Discount is a word that sounds cheap. Savings is a better word. People like the word savings, right? So it comes back down again to even when you're talking about charging money, it's not about a cost. What does it cost? People think that's waste. What's the price? It's another connotation, filters through the psyche like waste. So don't be using those kinds of words. And it's our casual approach to language and business that actually takes us further away from our goal. Not enough time, not enough money. Well, guess what keeps showing up? Not enough time and not enough money. Has anybody heard of Dr. Emoto? Dr. Emoto? You can Google him and check out his work, but he really did some amazing experiments with the power of words. First of all, he studied water and took water from crystal lakes and from dirty rivers and looked to see what he could find in there. And then he separated the water, all the clean crystal water from lakes that were not polluted or anywhere near pollution, completely pure. Put them into jars of water and wrote words on paper and put the paper into the jars. Some of the words were bad words like hate and anger or Hitler or, really swear words and things like that. And into the other jars, he put words like peace and love, happiness. Within a 3-week period, the clear crystal water in the jars with the bad words turned black, just from the reaction to the words. So if you are even doubting that words are powerful, even the words that we say to ourselves about how we are, check more into the principles that are coming back from Dr. Emoto. It's E-M-O-T-O. Very, very interesting. And in the jars that had the good words, when he looked at the water under a microscope, it had actually formed crystals, like snow crystals. It was awesome. So very, very beautiful. So everything is energy, and there's nothing more hurtful than what you say to yourself. So be careful about what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're watching on TV, what you're saying to each other, and what you allow other people to say to you. Because those are powerful words that you're taking in. You have to believe it for yourself and tell yourself that you are worthy to receive those things that you want, the office that you want, the high-figure income that you're looking for. So looking at this, then we've got to look at what is your stuck point. Understand that your subconscious mind is perceiving as a good income maybe something less than what you really want. And in order to increase that amount, you've got to figure that out, what's holding you back, and then let those things go. Write it on a piece of paper and burn it. Let it go. Form new things. Oprah, she tells us it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. The ability to triumph begins with you, always. And she's the queen. Look at how far she's come. Look at what she's achieved. And it really comes down, I think that Kimberly also mentioned Marianne Williamson. The choice is yours. You get what you think about, so start unloading the garbage. But Marianne Williamson, in her book, Return to Love, said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it is that we are powerful beyond measure. And what that means to you is that subconsciously you're like, oh my God, what happens if I get all these orders? Oh my God, what happens if I make all this money and people don't like me? What if I can't deliver? What if? That's the subconscious self-limiting beliefs making you be right and keeping you squished down in those income brackets that you don't want to be at. And I kind of love this little poem here. Your mind is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. You can plant flowers or you can plant weeds. It's all up to you. So flash the cash, that's where we're headed. That's the things that we're thinking about. And your takeaway then is act as if you cannot fail. We've talked about visualizing what will it be like when you achieve that level, but how would you feel going into a proposal presentation or when we're talking about going on your first job meeting with that client? How would it feel? How will you approach it? How will you stand? What will you be wearing when they sign that contract? If you absolutely, irrefutably knew that every single thing you were about to do, you were not going to fail, how would that affect your psyche? You know, I worked for Mary Kay a long time ago. I was one of the first people in Canada and used to have to sing, If You're Happy and You Know It, you know that song that you teach the kids, Stamp Your Feet? We had to do it before every meeting. But I'm telling you, the energy in the room really changed. And it took me back to when in the 70s, I took Dale Carnegie. And they tell you 1 week you have to bring a box to class. So the guys all go stop at the liquor store on the way and they bring those great big boxes. You know, we go to our jewelry boxes, the ladies, put them in, bring it with you. Towards the end of the evening, he said, okay, get your boxes out. We're headed, it's a sales training if you haven't heard of Dale Carnegie. So we get our boxes out and he says, okay, I want you to put them, get out of the side of your chair, stand up, put the box down. So this is my box. Step over your box and say, if I act enthusiastic, I will be enthusiastic. So you can imagine the guys having to stretch over these great big brown boxes, and they say it. Now do it again, do it again, do it again, do it faster, do it faster, do it faster. So all of a sudden you're like, woohoo, ready to go doing sales. That's how you need to be on a day-to-day basis. And it was really an exercise for you to mentally picture yourself in that excited way when you're making a phone call or you're going to go out and talk with a client. Instead of thinking about the trepidation and the things that might go wrong, let's think about how it will be when it goes right. And we tend not to do that. All right, so do you have a 6-figure mindset? Or 7-figure mindset? Yes? Okay, stand up. All of you. This is the part you're going to hate. I'm not going to have you sing Happy and You Know It. Although you could if you want to. All right, claim it. You shout this out. I have Again. A bit better. Wine is coming. Come on. Yeah. All right. Sit down. So did you feel a little bit of change in you as that progressed? All right, that's the energy shift that we were talking about. Really, I mean, you can bring it back to life events. You know, have you ever walked into a room where two people were having an argument and they stop right away? Can you feel the tension? Have you ever gone in when somebody's been crying and you can feel the sadness, right? That's energy and that's palpable. And so that's available to you to work for or against your business.